The lights die. Phones go black. The ATM screen freezes mid-transaction. Somewhere, a transformer explodes, and in that instant, money becomes paper, banks become bunkers, and survival becomes the only currency that matters. This is not a movie. This is the first week after an EMP strike, the kind generals whisper about and history warns us never to ignore. No money, no banks, no ATMs, just silence, confusion, and the raw test of human will. Like the first days of World War II, when nations woke up to a new reality overnight, this moment separates the prepared from the panicked. For 7 days, society teeters on the edge, and what you do in those 7 days will decide whether you endure or disappear. Day one begins with silence, the most terrifying sound imaginable. Not the calm kind, but the sudden absence of everything you depend on. The hum of electricity vanishes, traffic lights die mid-cycle, engines cough once and never restart, phones glow for a heartbeat, then fade into black mirrors reflecting your own confusion. In that moment, the world you trusted ends, not with an explosion you can run from, but with an invisible udar, a strike that leaves no crater and no warning. Like the opening hours of World War II, when ordinary mornings turned into history overnight, people sense it instantly. Something irreversible has happened. At first, denial takes command. People stand frozen in parking lots, tapping screens, restarting cars, swiping cards that no longer speak back. ATMs display error codes like tombstones for a dead system. Cash registers won't open, doors won't unlock. Someone laughs nervously and says it's just a blackout. Someone else insists it'll be fixed in minutes. This is the most dangerous phase, when the mind refuses to accept reality. In every war, from the first bombs over Poland to the first missile alerts of modern times, disbelief has always claimed its victims before the enemy ever arrived. As the hours crawl forward, confusion spreads like smoke. Emergency sirens never sound because the systems that power them are gone. News doesn't update. Radios are silent unless they're old enough to remember another century. Rumors replace facts. It's a cyber attack. It's solar. It's temporary. But deep down, a heavier truth presses in. This feels deliberate, strategic, like the opening move of a world war designed not to conquer land, but to paralyze civilization itself. By midday, fear changes shape. People leave offices early, walking miles home through stalled highways littered with dead cars. Cities feel exposed, stripped of their armor. Elevators trap the unlucky. Hospitals switch to backup generators knowing they are counting minutes, not hours. Grocery stores close when registers fail, and arguments erupt as customers demand food they can no longer pay for. A single shove turns into shouting. Shouting turns into fists. Civilization is thin, always thinner than we like to admit, and on day one, the cracks show. Those who remember history feel a familiar chill. This is what civilians felt when the first air raid sirens wailed, when borders slammed shut, when letters stopped arriving. War doesn't always announce itself with gunfire. Sometimes it arrives by removing comfort, by erasing convenience, by forcing people to confront how fragile their routines really are. Day one is not about hunger or violence yet. It is about psychological impact, the shock, the realization that help is not coming tonight. As night falls, the darkness becomes absolute. No streetlights, no glowing windows. Cities that once burned with life now resemble occupied zones under blackout orders. Candles flicker like resistance signals. People sit in their homes listening to unfamiliar sounds, footsteps outside, distant shouting, the unsettling quiet of a world without engines. Sleep doesn't come easily. Minds race. Parents lie awake counting supplies, wondering how long food will last, how they'll protect their children if tomorrow is worse. And tomorrow will be worse. On day one, the prepared don't celebrate. They move quietly. They don't panic because panic wastes energy. They check on loved ones, they secure doors, they inventory supplies with the calm precision of soldiers who understand that the first hours of conflict define the outcome. They know what history teaches. Those who act early gain time, and time is the most valuable resource left. Meanwhile, authorities are as blind as civilians. Command centers struggle to understand the scope. Vehicles don't respond. Digital infrastructure is gone. The systems built for modern efficiency collapse under primitive conditions. Like generals in 1941 suddenly realizing their maps no longer match the battlefield, leaders face a war they trained for, but never truly believed would come. By the end of day one, the truth settles into the bones. Money is inaccessible. Power is not returning. The world before the strike feels like a memory from another lifetime. People stand at their windows and realize something ancient and terrifying. Survival has become personal again. There is no app for this, no hotline, no instant solution. Day one doesn't kill most people, but it decides them. It separates those who wait from those who adapt, those who cling to yesterday from those who prepare for tomorrow. Just as the first day of every great war rewrote history, this day rewrites priorities. Comfort dies, awareness is born, and in the silence left behind by the EMP, humanity takes its first step into a new kind of battlefield, one without uniforms, without borders, and without mercy for those who refuse to wake up. Day two begins with movement, relentless, desperate movement. The shock of yesterday hardens into urgency, and urgency turns the streets into rivers of people flowing toward anything that promises relief: food, fuel, information. By morning, the truth is undeniable. This is not temporary. The power is not coming back. The banks are not opening. And whatever struck the grid did so with the precision of a wartime opening salvo. The world has entered a run, and everyone feels it at the same time. Word spreads without wires. A store 3 blocks away is still open. A gas station on the edge of town is selling fuel, cash only. Someone heard the military is mobilizing. Someone else swears help is already on the way. None of it is confirmed, but hope is enough to make people move. Families pour out of apartment buildings. Cars are abandoned when fuel runs out or engines refuse to start. Backpacks replace briefcases. Hands grip shopping lists that suddenly feel like lifelines. By mid-morning, grocery stores are overwhelmed. Shelves empty faster than they can be stripped. Canned food vanishes first, then water, then anything that might last longer than a day. Arguments ignite over the last bag of rice, the last case of bottled water. This is the moment history warned us about. The same panic seen in wartime Europe when supply lines broke and ration cards became meaningless scraps of paper. The enemy here isn't a foreign army. It's fear, and it spreads faster than hunger. Security breaks down quietly at first. Store managers lock doors not out of cruelty, but survival. Without registers, without resupply, without protection, they know they cannot last. When doors close, tempers explode. Fists pound glass. Someone throws a rock. A crowd surges forward, and in seconds, the line between civilization and chaos is erased. This is the run. The moment when people stop thinking as individuals and begin moving as a mass. Fuel stations become flashpoints. Generators hum like beacons in a dark world, drawing crowds from miles away. Gas is no longer about convenience, it's about escape, warmth, power. When pumps run dry, anger replaces hope. Shouting turns to threats. Threats turn to violence. Not because people are evil, but because desperation strips away restraint. War has always done this. When supply fails, humanity reverts to its oldest instincts. Throughout the day, rumors escalate. Some say cities are unsafe. Others claim rural areas are already overwhelmed. Highways clogged with people trying to flee, only to find themselves stranded among thousands with the same idea. It mirrors every refugee crisis in history, movement without direction, driven by the belief that anywhere else must be better than here. But there is no elsewhere anymore. The crisis is everywhere. Those who stayed home yesterday now regret it. Those who rushed out too early regret that too. Day two punishes hesitation and recklessness equally. The streets are louder now, not with engines, but with raised voices, crying children, and the constant sound of footsteps. Law enforcement is stretched thin, working without coordination, without communication, without certainty. They look less like authority figures and more like exhausted sentries guarding a collapsing line. As afternoon fades, something darker creeps in. People begin to realize that kindness is becoming expensive. Sharing food today might mean starving tomorrow. Trust erodes. Neighbors eye each other differently, not as friends, but as variables. threats, allies, competitors. This is how war changes societies. It doesn't just destroy buildings, it rewires relationships. Yet even in the run, moments of humanity flare like signal fires. A stranger shares water with a child. A group bands together to escort the elderly home. These moments matter, they always have. During the worst bombings of World War II, survival wasn't just about shelters and supplies. It was about morale, about refusing to let fear erase decency. Day 2 tests that resolve brutally. As night approaches again, exhaustion settles in. People return home carrying whatever they managed to secure, often less than they hoped, sometimes nothing at all. The street's quiet, but the tension does not. Doors are barred earlier, windows stay dark. The realization sinks in that tomorrow's run may be worse. Supplies will be fewer, tempers shorter. The thin layer of order that still exists feels like it could tear at any moment. Day 2 is not about winning, it is about learning. Learning that speed matters, that crowds are dangerous, that information is unreliable, that survival is no longer a solo effort. Those who observe, instead of react, begin to understand the new rules. Just as soldiers learn quickly under fire, civilians now learn under pressure. Adapt or be swept away. When people finally lie down to sleep, if they can sleep at all, they do so with aching bodies and louder thoughts. The run has shown them the truth. The systems they trusted are gone, and the safety they assumed was permanent was always borrowed. The war has not yet reached its loudest phase, but Day 2 makes one thing clear. This is no longer a crisis of comfort. It is a fight for endurance, and the hardest days are still ahead. Day 3 dawns with a colder understanding. The panic of the run has burned off, replaced by something heavier and more final. People wake up sore, hungry, and clearer than before. The screens are still dead, the power is still gone. And now the realization settles in with undeniable weight. Money is dead. Not temporarily paused. Not delayed. Dead. The numbers that once defined worth, status, and security are meaningless symbols trapped inside machines that will never wake up. Wallets are opened with disbelief. Cash is counted, then counted again, as if the paper itself might change its mind. But even those holding bills feel the shift immediately. Stores that remain open don't want money. They want certainty. They want food to trade for food, fuel for tools, batteries for medicine. The illusion of a financial system collapses, and in its place rises something ancient and unforgiving. Value is no longer assigned by banks. It is decided face to face. This is the day history repeats itself most clearly. The stories from wartime Europe, from besieged cities and occupied towns, come alive. People once traded watches for bread, wedding rings for potatoes, skills for shelter. Day 3 brings that same brutal math back into the modern world. A generator is worth more than a stack of bills. Clean water is worth more than gold. Knowledge, how to fix, build, heal, becomes priceless. Attempts to use money still happen, driven by habit more than logic. Someone offers cash for fuel and is laughed away. Someone else waves a credit card like a talisman, refusing to accept it no longer holds power. The denial phase lingers for some, and it costs them. By midday, the smarter ones stop asking what things cost and start asking what things are worth. Barter begins awkwardly, then accelerates. A can of soup for a pack of batteries, a few gallons of water for antibiotics, a night of watch duty in exchange for a warm meal. Every exchange carries tension. There are no receipts, no refunds, trust is fragile, and every deal feels like a gamble. This is not capitalism or socialism. It is survival economics, raw and personal. With barter comes vulnerability. People must reveal what they have in order to trade, and that knowledge is dangerous. Show too much and you become a target. Show too little and you go without. This is the lesson civilians learn during sieges and occupations. Secrecy can save your life. Day 3 teaches discretion faster than any book ever could. Meanwhile, those who have nothing feel the ground slipping away beneath them. The poor are hit first and hardest, just as they always are in war. Without reserves, without trade goods, without skills in demand, desperation sharpens quickly. Some beg, some steal, some follow others, hoping to attach themselves to safety. Society begins sorting itself. not by income or education, but by usefulness and resilience. Authority struggles to keep relevance. Promises mean little when they can't be enforced or fulfilled. Words like soon and restoration sound hollow. People stop listening and start watching instead. Who has light at night? Who has food to spare? Who seems organized? Leadership, real leadership, starts to emerge not from titles but from action. This mirrors every great conflict. True leaders rise in the vacuum left by failed systems. By afternoon, the emotional toll deepens. Money once represented future security, retirement, savings, plans. Now the future has shrunk to days, hours, meals. The psychological impact is severe. Some break down, grieving not just comfort but identity. Careers, achievements, years of effort, all erased in a single strike. Day 3 forces people to confront a brutal truth. Modern life was built on layers of trust in systems we never truly controlled. Yet there is power in this realization too. Stripped of illusions, people rediscover agency. You cannot swipe your way out of this. You cannot outsource survival. What you do with your hands, your mind, your time, that is all that matters now. Like civilians turned soldiers overnight during world wars, people begin to adapt. They learn quickly who they are when convenience is gone. As evening falls, small markets appear in unexpected places. Parking lots, courtyards, street corners. Quiet exchanges happen under watchful eyes. A nod replaces a contract. A handshake replaces a signature. These scenes echo the black markets of history, born not from greed but necessity. They are dangerous, imperfect, and essential. Day 3 does not bring comfort. It brings clarity. The fantasy that things will go back to normal finally dies. In its place grows something harder but more honest: acceptance. This is the new reality, and survival depends on adaptation, cooperation, and resolve. When night comes, people guard what little they have more fiercely, not because they are cruel, but because they understand the stakes. Money once promised safety tomorrow. Now, safety must be built tonight. Day 3 marks the true beginning of the struggle, not against an enemy with a flag, but against scarcity, fear, and the limits of human endurance. In every war, there is a moment when civilians realize the old rules no longer apply. This is that moment. Money is gone. Illusions are gone. What remains is will. And for those strong enough to adapt, Day 3 is not the end. It is the foundation of survival. Day 4 arrives with a quiet tension that feels different from the days before. The frantic movement is slowed. The runs have thinned. People are no longer reacting. They are deciding. Hunger, fatigue, and fear have forced a reckoning, and now the truth becomes unavoidable. No one survives this alone. The illusion of independence, so carefully built into modern life, collapses under the weight of reality. Day 4 is the moment where communities form, or chaos takes permanent root. The streets look different now. Fewer people wander aimlessly. Those who are still moving do so with purpose, often in small groups. Odinochki are learning the hardest lesson of all: isolation is weakness. In past wars, lone civilians were easy targets, overwhelmed, exploited, or erased by circumstances beyond their control. The same pattern emerges here. Those who tried to hoard without allies now find themselves exhausted, paranoid, and vulnerable. Doors open cautiously between neighbors who barely exchanged words before. Apartment hallways become meeting grounds. Courtyards turn into councils. People speak in low voices, sharing what they know, what they have, and what they fear. Trust does not come easily, but necessity accelerates it. History shows this again and again. During bombings, sieges, and occupations, survival favored those who banded together, not those who tried to stand alone against the storm. With community comes structure. Someone suggests rotating watch shifts at night. Someone else offers medical knowledge. Another knows how to fix mechanical tools unaffected by the EMP. These skills suddenly carry more weight than any job title ever did. Leaders emerge not because they demand authority, but because others naturally look to them. They are calm under pressure, decisive, willing to shoulder responsibility. This is how real leadership is forged, in crisis, not comfort. But where cooperation fails, Darkness spreads fast. Some areas fall into chaos, ruled by fear instead of order. Without shared rules, disputes escalate. Arguments over food turn violent. Theft becomes normalized. The absence of unity creates openings for intimidation and force. History remembers these places too, the neighborhoods that collapsed inward during wartime, devouring themselves long before the enemy arrived. Day 4 is the fork in the road, and not everyone chooses wisely. Those who form communities quickly understand a critical truth. Strength is not just numbers, it is coordination. A group that shares resources intelligently lasts longer than one that hoards blindly. Food is rationed. Water sources are protected. Information is pooled and verified before action is taken. This mirrors wartime civilian defense networks, where organization turned vulnerable populations into resilient ones. Security becomes collective. Night watches are established. Simple signals are agreed upon, not to wage war, but to prevent it. Defense, not aggression, becomes the priority. People realize that visible unity deters threats better than locked doors ever could. A neighborhood that stands together is less likely to be tested than one divided by suspicion. Emotionally, Day 4 is heavy. Old grudges surface. Personalities clash. Stress amplifies every flaw. Yet shared hardship also creates bonds faster than years of peace ever could. People eat together for the first time in days. Children find moments to laugh. Stories are exchanged about the old world, about family, about hopes that now feel distant but still matter. These moments are not weakness, they are fuel. During the darkest days of World War II, morale was as vital as ammunition. Not everyone joins willingly. Some resist cooperation, clinging to control, mistrust, or pride. They see community as a threat to autonomy. Many of them fade quickly, burned out, overwhelmed, or forced to submit to harsher realities later. Day 4 does not punish pride out of cruelty, it simply exposes it. As evening approaches, communities that formed earlier feel steadier, not safe, but steadier. There is a rhythm now, a sense of shared purpose. People understand their roles. The chaos has not vanished, but it has been pushed back, held at bay by unity. In contrast, areas without cohesion grow quieter for the wrong reasons. Abandoned homes, broken windows, the aftermath of conflict no one wants to talk about. Day 4 teaches a lesson older than nations and stronger than technology. Humans survive together or not at all. Every great war proved this. Cities endured bombardment because neighbors shared shelters. Armies held lines because soldiers trusted the ones beside them. Civilians survived occupation because communities protected their own. When night falls, the darkness feels less suffocating in places where people stand watch together. A single candle in a window becomes a symbol, not of comfort, but of resolve. The world is still broken, the future is still uncertain, but something essential has been rebuilt. Day 4 is where humanity reclaims its oldest weapon, unity. Not perfect, not painless, but powerful. In the absence of money, power, and systems, people rediscover something stronger than all three, a shared will to endure. And in this new, fragile order, survival stops being an individual burden and becomes a collective mission. Day 5 is when the real war begins, and it is fought entirely inside the mind. Hunger has settled in, no longer sharp but constant. Sleep comes in fragments, broken by noise, watch rotations, and anxious dreams. Bodies are tired, but it is the spirit that feels bruised. By now, everyone understands this is not a short crisis. The hope that powered the first days, the idea that rescue is imminent, that systems will snap back to life, has thinned to a dangerous thread. Day 5 tests whether that thread snaps or hardens into resolve. People wake slower, conversations are quieter, faces look older. The adrenaline that carried them through shock and chaos is gone, replaced by a grinding reality. This is the same psychological wall faced by civilians during long bombardments, by soldiers in frozen trenches, by populations under siege. The moment when survival stops feeling heroic and starts feeling endless. This is where many falter, not because they lack strength, but because they underestimate how heavy sustained uncertainty can be. Doubt creeps in everywhere. Small problems feel enormous. A missing tool becomes a crisis. A misunderstanding turns into an argument. Tempers flare faster, then cool into guilt and silence. The mind, deprived of rest and comfort, looks for something to blame. Leaders feel the pressure most. Decisions that once felt clear now carry visible consequences. Rations are questioned, watch schedules debated. Every choice feels like it could be the wrong one, and that weight is exhausting. Fear changes shape on day 5. It is no longer loud panic. It is quiet dread. The kind that whispers at night, what if this gets worse? What if winter comes? What if help never arrives? These thoughts are corrosive. In every war, this is the phase when morale becomes the decisive battlefield. Armies have collapsed not from defeat, but from the belief that defeat was inevitable. Civilians have endured horrors simply because they refuse to accept that belief. Some people begin to withdraw. They stop volunteering, stop talking. They sit apart, conserving energy, retreating inward. This is dangerous, both for them and for the group. Isolation feeds despair. In past wars, commanders and community leaders understood this well. Keeping people engaged, purposeful, and connected was as vital as food. Day 5 reveals why. A person who loses purpose loses the will to endure. Others respond differently. They become rigid, over-controlling, hyper-focused on rules. This, too, is a defense mechanism, a way to impose order on a world that has stripped it away. If left unchecked, it can fracture unity. Balance is everything now. Too much looseness invites chaos. Too much control breeds resentment. The mental war is about maintaining that balance under relentless pressure. Yet this is also the day when something powerful can happen. People begin to adapt emotionally, not just practically. The shock is gone. The fantasy of normalcy is gone. What remains is a clear-eyed understanding of the situation. And that clarity, while painful, can be stabilizing. When there is no longer when this ends soon, there is only this is what we do today. And that focus can be freeing. Small routines start to matter immensely. Shared meals, even if modest. Regular check-ins. Stories told by candlelight. Music hummed softly in the dark. These are not distractions, they are psychological armor. During the darkest periods of World War II, such routines kept populations from collapsing inward. They reminded people that they were more than survivors, they were still human. Day 5 also reveals inner strength that many never knew they had. Someone who was quiet before speaks up with wisdom. Someone who seemed fragile becomes steady under pressure. Crisis has a way of stripping away roles and revealing character. People discover they can endure hunger, fear, and exhaustion longer than they believed. This realization does not make things easier, but it makes them possible. Hope changes on this day. It stops being about rescue and starts being about resilience. Not someone will save us, but we will get through today. This is the kind of hope that carried bombed-out cities through years of war. It is not loud or naive. It is stubborn. It survives precisely because it asks for so little. Just one more. As night falls on day 5, the darkness feels familiar now. Still heavy, but no longer shocking. Watchfires burn low. Conversations drift toward the future again cautiously. Not dreams of comfort, but plans, gardens, water collection, reinforcing shelters. These are not fantasies, they are acts of defiance against despair. Day 5 does not end the struggle, it deepens it. But it also proves something essential. If people can endure this day without breaking, mentally, emotionally, they can endure many more. This is the lesson history repeats relentlessly. Wars are not won by those who never feel fear, but by those who continue despite it. The mental war is brutal and invisible, but it is winnable. And by surviving day 5, people don't just stay alive, they reclaim control over their own minds. In a world stripped of power, money, and certainty, that control becomes the most valuable victory of all. Day 6 begins with a hard truth. The world has changed permanently, and yesterday's strategies may no longer be enough. The frantic energy of the first days has faded, leaving a quieter, more deliberate rhythm. The chaos is still present, but now it has structure. People who survived this long are no longer reacting. They are evaluating, planning, and adapting. The decisions made over the next 48 hours will determine who thrives, who merely survives, and who falls behind entirely. Day 6 and 7 are the pivot point between endurance and collapse. Morning light illuminates streets that are quieter than they have been since the EMP struck. The absence of digital life has revealed a new reality. Civilization no longer functions as a network of systems. It functions as a network of people. The groups that formed on Day 4 now consolidate. Leaders emerge naturally, not from authority but from competence. People who can organize resources, mediate disputes, and maintain morale suddenly wield power greater than any currency. History repeats itself here, just as it did during the sieges of cities in World War II. The most organized and adaptable communities endured, while the disorganized fell apart. By now, barter has replaced money entirely, and the rules of exchange are evolving. Day 6 marks the shift from reactive bartering to strategic adaptation. People are no longer trading randomly, they are thinking ahead. Batteries are saved for critical use, food is rationed with military precision. Knowledge and skills are the most valuable currency of all. A person who knows how to repair engines, purify water, or provide medical aid is worth far more than someone with a bag of coins that cannot buy a single can of beans. The system of survival is now self-regulating. Usefulness determines value, and adaptability determines survival. During these days, the importance of teamwork becomes undeniable. Individual heroics are no longer enough. Teams divide responsibilities. Some secure food, others maintain shelters, others patrol or guard, and still others focus on creating sustainable solutions like water collection, small gardens, or improvised communication networks. Coordination is no longer optional. It is life or death. Those who cling to isolation, who refuse to collaborate, risk becoming liabilities not only to themselves but to the groups around them. History shows this over and over in every prolonged crisis. Those who survive are those who integrate into the collective while retaining their initiative. The mental and emotional pressures intensify. Exhaustion has compounded, stress is relentless, and hope is fragile. Yet adaptation is happening. People have begun to accept scarcity as a permanent reality and focus on control over what they can influence. In a way, this is liberating. Instead of worrying about what they have lost, survivors begin creating solutions within their environment. They improvise cooking methods, repair vehicles, and secure supplies. This hands-on ingenuity mirrors the ingenuity seen in wartime societies, where civilians turn scrap into sustenance and creativity into survival. Conflict does not disappear, however. As groups consolidate, competition for resources increases. Disputes over water sources, food caches, and strategic positions flare up. Some communities expand by force, absorbing weaker ones, while others crumble under internal tensions. Adaptation is not just practical, it is political. Negotiation, diplomacy, and leadership are as critical as physical endurance. By the end of Day 6, it becomes clear that survival is a combination of strength, wisdom, and strategic alliances. Those who fail to adapt socially as well as practically begin to fall behind. By the evening of Day 6, survivors are beginning to construct routines that resemble micro-societies. Security is systematic, patrols, signals, and watch rotations are established. Food preparation is organized. Hygiene, often overlooked during the early chaos, is prioritized because illness can destroy a group faster than scarcity. These routines stabilize morale and reinforce the sense that life, while altered, is still worth fighting for. Communities begin to understand that their survival is not temporary. It is ongoing, requiring vigilance, foresight, and cooperation. Day 7 dawns with a subtle but profound shift. The realization that waiting for external rescue is futile. The world beyond the immediate circle of survivors may never return to its former structure. Governments may struggle, infrastructure may remain crippled, and conventional currency may never regain meaning. This is a psychological turning point. Where fear and panic dominated the first days, determination and resolve now take the lead. Survival is no longer about clinging to what existed. It is about building a new, sustainable reality. Adaptation is fully underway. People create systems to store and rotate resources. Gardens are planted, rainwater collection begins, and makeshift workshops turn raw materials into tools and necessities. Roles become formalized. Scouts, medics, engineers, and leaders are recognized not by titles but by proven skill. Efficiency becomes a survival weapon. Groups that fail to implement such systems risk decay, while those that do see stability grow even in the midst of uncertainty. This is the essence of adaptation. It is not reactive, it is proactive, deliberate, and sustained. By the end of day 7, the survivors are no longer merely enduring. They are thriving in a limited sense. They have established routines, secured resources, and built cohesion that allows them to face the next week with confidence. Adaptation has transformed fear into focus, despair into purpose, and chaos into order. The world is still dangerous, but the people who have reached this point understand that their strength lies not in what they have lost, but in what they can build together. Every small success reinforces the truth that in a post-EMP reality, survival favors those who act, organize, and innovate. In the silence of night on the 7th day, there is a sense of quiet triumph. Candles burn steadily in windows. Patrols move silently but efficiently. Food is rationed, water is secure, and the community functions as a living, breathing organism. Adaptation has become a habit. It is no longer a strategy, it is a lifeline. The lessons of the past week, cooperation, resourcefulness, leadership, and resilience, have crystallized into survival doctrine. Day 6 and 7 demonstrate the ultimate truth about catastrophic crises. Those who fail to adapt fall, while those who embrace change endure. The environment may be hostile, resources limited, and challenges relentless, but human ingenuity, unity, and resolve are stronger than any EMP, blackout, or societal collapse. Adaptation is not just a choice, it is the only path to survival. Those who understand this emerge not merely alive, but prepared to face the uncertain future with courage, foresight, and unbreakable determination. An EMP doesn't just black out power, it exposes the truth about who we are when the world falls silent. In that quiet, all illusions vanish, your wealth, your gadgets, your digital safety nets, they mean nothing. History has proven it time and again. Strength, unity, and unwavering resolve carried humanity through the fires of World War II. They built bunkers, rallied cities under siege, and forged communities from rubble. And those same qualities will carry us through the darkness again. Prepare your mind, sharpen your skills, and fortify your spirit, because when money loses meaning, character becomes the currency that can't be stolen, broken, or erased. Your courage, your discipline, your ability to act when others falter, these are the things that determine who survives, who leads, and who thrives when civilization is tested. The lights may fail, the banks may fall, but your resolve, the fire in your heart, is the last fortress standing.